Okay, now we have all these tables. It's often nice to graph things. Graphing things from a pivot table gets really complicated, so let's go back to this sheet where I have kind of a plain copy of the pivot table that Excel doesn't treat as a pivot table, and we'll do our graphing from there. So I'm going to highlight the body of the table without the total columns and go to Insert, Bar Graph. I'm going to click on this bar graph to start with. So that's one kind of bar graph to think about. I'm also going to copy this bar graph and paste it over here. And on this bar graph, I'm going to come to Design and say Switch Row Column, and we'll see what happens. And then I'm going to do another kind of bar graph. So this is all on the raw frequency table. But this time, instead of doing this one, I'm going to choose this one, which is called, let's see if we can get the tip here, 100% stacked column. You can also do it in rows. It's fine either way. But this is called a 100% stacked column graph. It's also called a segmented bar chart in non-Excel language. And let's get these all on the screen. Just like we can switch row column for that one, we can switch row column, or switch, yeah, there. So here's 4 ways of graphing the same data set. I'm going to pause the video and let you think about which one is the best and why is that the best. So pause in 3, 2, 1, pause. Welcome back from pause. So someone looking at this graph might say, well, look, there's a lot more Android-based users, the orange color here, in the Knowing Excel Pretty Well group than there are iPhone. So does that show that Android-based really predicts knowing Excel pretty well, or does it show that knowing Excel pretty well really predicts being Android-based? Well, the problem is maybe there's just a whole bunch more Android users than iPhone users, and so we would expect this bar to be taller than that one. It's certainly true over here. Here it's almost as tall. So if we go up and look at our data set, we do have more Android-based people than iPhone, so we would expect the Android bars to be taller, and so just comparing the raw counts doesn't do a great job. We need to look at the conditional relative frequencies, which is what these 2 graphs are showing. But it's nice that Excel computes them behind the scenes, even though we gave it just the raw numbers. To do these graphs, you don't have to compute the conditional relative frequencies as their own little table. It's a good skill to compute it as a table, but you don't need to do that to make these graphs. And in fact, if you do that and then make a 100% stacked column from it, there's a good chance it'll be messed up. So you can do these, and you should do these usually directly from the raw counts. When you see these graphs, you can ask to basically read a number. You could say, what % of iPhone users know Excel a little bit, level 2? Is that question answered by this graph or that graph? You should think about that. And you can also ask, how do these graphs tell me about association versus not association? I see these blue bars aren't all the same height, so that's telling me that the conditional relative frequencies are different, which means that the variables are associated. Or here you could say these 2 orange bars are different sizes, so their conditional relative frequencies are different, and so the variables are associated.